We're here at Lenovo's CES hands-on event in New York, and I'm checking out specifically the ThinkBook Plus Gen 3. Now, if you followed Lenovo's work in the past, you know that the ThinkBook Plus line is where the company tends to experiment on unusual form factors. There was once a laptop with an e-ink screen on its lid. The ThinkBook Plus Gen 3, however, is Lenovo's take on the dual-screen laptop. This is a 17.3-inch IPS display that runs at a 3K resolution, accompanied by an 8-inch LCD with a digitizer layer on the keyboard deck. The ThinkBook Plus Gen 3 runs an interesting version of Windows 11 where, in addition to the typical snap shortcuts that you see when you hover over a taskbar on an app, there are more orientations available. Basically, Lenovo's been able to make Windows 11 see this 8-inch LCD as an external display, basically, and have the system push out content to it like it was a secondary monitor. It also does a little bit more than that. The ThinkBook Plus Gen 3 is also able to kind of combine the two displays together and create a sort of waterfall aspect ratio on this. I'm not sure how useful that waterfall format will be, but it did look interesting when I was scrolling through an Excel spreadsheet across the top and bottom screens, on the right side of it anyway. This main display runs at a 21:10 aspect ratio, which gives you room to do a lot of things. You can snap it like you would typical Windows 11 stuff, run two apps side by side taking up half the screen each. You can assign one to take up 2/3 of the display and then have another app, say Slack or a to-do list, on the right. But there are actually more practical uses for that 8-inch screen next to the keyboard. For one thing, Lenovo's put a bunch of software to make this a little more helpful. There is a whiteboard function on there, which allows you to use this 8-inch digitizer as a notepad, basically, to jot down your thoughts throughout the day, or just sketch a cute cartoon if you want to. Or if you want to have a dedicated numpad, this can become a supersized one as well. On some apps, like Adobe's Lightroom, for example, you can also use this screen as a magnifier or a dedicated dashboard panel. I actually was surprised how smooth it was to draw on this 8-inch LCD display with Lenovo's pen. I was able to scroll a few words and doodle a little bit here at our event, and everything felt very smooth and responsive. But I can't say the same for the entire experience. This is an early unit running some preview software, so not all of it was stable, of course. But by the time this does come to market, we're hopeful that Lenovo will have ironed out all of the kinks. The ThinkBook Plus Gen 3 will actually be available in May, starting at $1399, and it uses up to a 12th generation Intel Core processor. You'll also get up to 32 gigs of DDR5 RAM. There's also a full HD IR camera with a privacy shutter. There's an HDMI port, a USB-C port, a Thunderbolt 4 port, and two USB-A sockets. It's worth noting that the battery size here is 69 watt-hours, which is pretty typical for most laptops this size, but most laptops this size don't also have a secondary monitor to power, so we'll have to see what real-world battery life we can get out of this thing. So far, I mean, this is one of the most eye-catching things I've seen this CES, and I'm very intrigued by the premise here. There's also Asus that has attempted the dual-screen laptop form factor before, so Lenovo is not breaking new ground here. But I would love to get one of these in to test and see how it performs in the real world. For that and more coverage out of CES 2022, make sure you subscribe to Engadget. And as always, thank you for watching.